Across the country, companies are still wrestling with the future of work. Should employees be at the home, in the office, or some mix of both?
Here in Colorado, a Denver-based tech company has made a deliberate choice about that, one they say is strengthening their culture and downtown.
PBS 12's Frannie Matthews takes us inside Ibotta's new approach and why they're investing in collaboration, connection, and the city's core.
Brian, thank you for joining us today. I am at Ibotta's headquarters in downtown Denver with Brian Leach, the CEO. Tell us about Ibotta.
Ibotta was born right here in Denver about 13 years ago. We started out at 18th and Blake in the basement of an old fire station, and we were a direct-to-consumer cashback app. So you downloaded a mobile app, you bought things in the grocery store, you took a picture of your receipt with your app or your phone, and we gave you cashback rewards directly onto a PayPal account.
Talk to me about this commitment that you have made to downtown Denver with this office space.
Ibotta has always been very proud to be a Denver company. From the very earliest days when I would fundraise and people would say, why aren't you in California? Why aren't you in Boulder? I would explain to them that I'd rather be in Denver than in either of those places because it's actually a fantastic place to find talent, to build a business, a community that's really inclusive and supportive of each other. And so when we began, not only were we located in Lodo, but we also made sure that everybody knew we were a Denver company. For the first several years when you loaded our mobile app, it said designed and built in Denver, Colorado with the little mountains on it.
I think the thing that you have to think about when you are making a decision like the one we did to invest in a place like this for our employees, when certainly a lot of businesses are making the choice to go fully remote, save on the overhead of rental expenses, you have to think about who you are as an organization and what are the things that are most important about your culture. And so sense of place has always been really important to Ibotta. And we've always been a company that highly values the idea of bringing people together to collaborate in person.
We're on the 16th Street Mall, which Denver just completely renovated, and it's vibrant, right? And we want to be not only part of that ourselves, but we want to lead a movement back into downtown Denver and lower downtown Denver amongst all the other tech companies that are deciding, well, should we be in office? Should we be downtown? Should we be in the tech center? We want them to come to the urban core of Denver and be part of a critical mass of innovation.
Tell me a little bit about your thought process on creating the space for your teams.
Yeah, we always want to create a place where we can convert the highest percentage of our team's good ideas into reality. So one of our values as a company is a good idea can come from anywhere. And what we first do is create a sense of shared context. So we want you to understand what our mission is. Make every purchase rewarding. We want you to understand what our strategy is, what our metrics are. And then once you understand that, we want you to boldly suggest ideas and know that we'll run with the best ideas, even if they're not my ideas. And very often they're not my ideas as the founder. We want to create a space where you can tease out those ideas and where we can teach you how to present that as a business case. And the more unconventional, the better. Because if it's a conventional idea, it's already being done. If it's unconventional, we want to teach you to look for the merit in those possible breakthrough ideas and not just sort of scuttle them right at the outset by saying, oh, that's already been tried or that'll never work because. So we create spaces that are designed to be those collaboration zones so that people can whiteboard ideas or they can riff back and forward. And we want that to be a place where they can spark off of each other.
There's a term called accidental collaboration.
Yeah.
Have you seen some accidental collaboration in the environment here?
Yeah, I think a funny story is actually we were just in our little huddle space and chatting about what's the next big thing that we can do for Thanksgiving, for example. And it turned into like an impromptu brainstorm where we just started thinking of new, messaging and creative approaches. And we actually kind of joked around and threw it on the calendar retroactively and said, oh, that was a brainstorm when it was really just us talking next to our desk. I think when we're in those collaboration moments in person, it's allowed me to think more strategically about marketing and working more in that space and pushed me to think a little bit differently. So now I think that's kind of developed where I want to be and how I want to grow my career. And it's through those conversations and opportunities that have allowed me to think more strategically.
we are increasing our space by 20% in a time that a lot of companies are kind of going in the opposite direction. And part of that was to say, we want to create a space where people are going to come together. We want to create a space where both our folks here who are hybrid, who work in the office 3 days a week, can have remote interactions that are productive and creative and inspiring with their fully remote colleagues. And we want a place where our fully remote colleagues want to come into the office. So whether that's, they come in occasionally because they live within commuting distance, or whether that's because they fly in and spend a week here working with their peers, we wanted it to be an exciting place that drew them kind of into the center and the hub of who we are as an organization.
How have you taken the space and also kind of elevated your mentoring structure and programs at Ibotta?
So my background is in organizational improvement and learning and development. So mentorship is really important to me as well. And so I think there's two things. From the physical space, it was really important that we create spaces where people feel comfortable having conversations. And I think that's at the core of what good mentorship is you have to be in a relationship where you trust the person, and the physical space can aid in that. So a lot of what we've built here is, of course, formal conference rooms, boardrooms, places where you can take private phone calls, but it was equally important that we create what we call breakaway spaces, kind of soft seating corners where you can kind of be more casual, almost recreating a coffee shop feel, where you might go and have that conversation with that mentor about whatever that deep problem is that you're working on, or whatever that wisdom is that you're kind of looking to impart in that next generation of leaders who you might be mentoring. So it's reflected in our space. And then as an organization, we invest heavily in mentorship. So we have a mentorship program that we run. We have different employee resource groups who are engaged in mentoring. And one of the things that we really did when we designed the space was go to our employees and kind of ask them what are they hoping to get out of it. And so we hope that bringing people in, whether it's long-term mentoring relationships, people that they've been mentoring with for a while, or just the opportunity to run into somebody at our water cooler, which we now actually have. I see people there over the last 3 mornings. I've seen people there every morning, kind of filling up and talking, and it reminds me that engagement, that interaction, that person-to-person communication is really healthy.
I think from a mental health standpoint, you want to feel connected to your team and to the mission of what you're doing. And so if you're just a box on a screen with your colleagues and they're just a box on the screen, your investment in them as a person, as a friend, as a mentor is just different. Doesn't mean it's not valuable, but over the long run, we believe strongly that getting people together physically is critical to creating a culture that cares about each other. And there are different forms of mentorship that can't happen online. So one of the things that happens a lot with young people in their career is they kind of are working on something and they're not sure they're doing it right. And they kind of swivel around their chair and they say to their colleague or mentor, could you come look at this? Am I thinking about this the right way? Some people call this is there anything in my teeth form of mentorship, right? Like, could you just quickly give me a gut check on this? You're not going to set up a Zoom call just to walk through that because it occurred to you and you want to keep moving on your project.
I've read several studies that have said if you just have one friend at work, it changes your point of view on your job and your job satisfaction. Talk a little bit about what it's doing for your teammates' mental health.
Yeah, I think maybe I've read a similar study, and I do think it's really important, I think, to think about the fact that as humans, we are social creatures. Even the most, I'll use the term introverted of us, of which I actually count myself in that group. We still need that human connection. And a lot of that can certainly be met through digital tools. And so I think that we've bridged a lot of those gaps, but there is really no substitute for kind of the full human interactions.
Yeah, that is a good point, because one of the things I love about being with people is that collaboration, the magic that happens between humans that you can't recreate on a virtual call. But the need for being able to do deep work. So that's kind of interesting to be able to do it here. Are there some architectural and space things that you did specifically for that purpose?
Yeah, so the most important thing that we did and that our design company worked with us on is really making sure that we have soundproof spaces. So we have a couple of different ways that we're controlling the sound. One is just through enhanced doors and walls and making sure that there are the physical barriers that hold sound in. The other piece is just creating enough space for people to kind of hop into a phone booth and close the door and sort of shut out the world behind them so that they can do that deep work.
I can see all over the integration of technology to actually help humans collaborate. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you've done with technology to help that collaboration?
Yeah, so we really tried to take a look at the old office and coming into the new office here at 16 Market and say, what works and what do people actually need when they're integrating with tech? And so the biggest pain point that we always want to try to solve for is the ease of use. Every single user wants the technology to be able to not be a barrier to their workspace, but to actually propel them forward. And so we really looked at how can we integrate our technologies in a way that empowers the user to be functional faster. So we really looked for ways that the conference rooms would be something as simple as the schedulers on the outside of every conference room. So at a quick glance, you can see, hey, this room is available or somebody's working in there. You don't have to press your face against the glass to go, oh, I probably shouldn't walk into that conference room.
Yeah, look, people work differently. And so some people need to block out time even while they're in the office where they don't have meetings, and you can do the deep work here from your office. Some people need quiet spaces in the office where they're not going to be constantly interrupted so they can write the code they need to write. We need to respect that that needs to exist within the office environment. And some people want to have a day where they can get caught up on everything for 3-4 hours on a Friday afternoon and not have to be pulled into meetings. And so should we have a moratorium on meetings in the summer after a certain period of time? There's a lot of different creative ways to think about accommodating how folks want to work.
I have one more question on the idea of coming back to the office that every leader I hear talk about, which is there's a pushback in many organizations because teammates might feel like it's a control thing rather than a collaboration thing. How do you work that into your culture so people don't feel like it's I gotta do this as I get to do it?
I mean, I think if we told people before the pandemic we were going to give you the opportunity to stay at home geographically, for a significant portion of the week, they'd think we were the most progressive, uncontrolling organization of all time. Now the norms shift and they're shifting back. And so what control is relative to what your expectations are when you take a job. We're very clear with people, this is how we work before they sign up to work here, and they're signing on to that way of collaborating. And I think you get the best of both worlds. And I think the kinds of people that want to come work here can't wait to get into the office and collaborate. They don't view that as a negative or they wouldn't sign up to work here. There are plenty of fully remote companies out there you can choose to work for. We're not one of them.
We've always focused on how do we reduce the friction, how do we make the space easy to use, and then how do we make the moments meaningful so that people who are here are doing things that they couldn't be doing if they were working from home and they were in a remote environment. We have this lovely collaborative process where we ask employees to nominate famous people who embody our values, and they have to tell us why they embody the values. And then we go through a process of review, and so you'll find a lot of our conference rooms are named for Jokic, which is the room that we're in. And then we also have a conference room named for, our training room is named for Ernest Shackleton, and we have several conference rooms that are named for poets and artists. And we really feel that the naming process is something that reflects who we are and also reflects who we aspire to be. And they are the folks that if they were working for us in Ibotta, we would know what values they represent.
Personally, what's your favorite?
My favorite is we named a room after Fred Rogers. And so that was one that I was very excited to see end up on the list. I did not nominate Mr. Rogers, but we were excited to have a room that we were able to name for him.
Brian, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And this is a beautiful space, and I look forward to coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Ibotta's story is part of Denver's story. It's a company choosing to grow in the heart of the city, investing in people and designing spaces that bring ideas to life.
And it's a reminder that the future of work isn't just about where we do our jobs, but how we stay connected while doing them.